Welcome to the Peace, Harmony, Joy podcast. I'm Ken Brandeis, here with my co-host Scott Frank. Scott is the guy who literally wrote the book on the topic, Peace, Harmony, and Joy. Scott, how are we doing today?
We're doing great, and I am excited to introduce another one of our wonderful Peace, Harmony, Joy Alliance board members. Susanna Calvert is someone that I've gotten to know. If it wasn't for Peace, Harmony, and Joy, I don't know that we would have connected, but I'm glad that our organization exists, and I'm glad that she has an amazing organization also. Her Foundation for Family and Community Healing, it just really matches up nicely with what we're doing. So I think that's how I got introduced to her. And what I've learned is she's built this amazing curriculum that teaches people about peace, harmony, and joy related topics. And not only that, but she's got this amazing long education background that actually positioned her to I think, create curriculum that it's the best I've seen to actually teach people in an experiential way that actually I think people will appreciate and remember and be able to use. So I'm going to let Sana tell you more about herself, but she is an amazing person, and I am excited to have her with us today. So back to you, Ken.
Well, welcome, Sana. The thing that when I looked at your background, the thing that caught me was your education. It's incredibly deep and it's really an incredible background. And my daughter went to UT, so Hookham was very excited about that. So maybe we can start out by you just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and just bring us up to Peace, Harmony, and Joy. Give us the whole story.
Well, thank you both for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk peace, harmony, joy. One of my favorite topics. So I think where I'd like to start in terms of what's relevant is that I'm the daughter of two Chinese immigrants, refugees from the Chinese Communist government. And so I was raised with very traditional Chinese American values, which meant that I should study doctor, lawyer, or engineer, become a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Right. That's how my parents always said it. And so I was a very dutiful daughter, and I did that, and I got a PhD, and I got a faculty position, and I married a Chinese American physician, and I had 2.2 kids, and I was just whizzing down my checklist for happiness. And when I checked off the last box on my to-do list, which was tenure, I thought, oh my God, I just ruined my life. Because instead of being happy, I was actually just pretty miserable. And you would have looked at me and gone, wow, this is an impressive young lady. But, I was a train wreck and I was miserable, and my marriage was terrible. And I just wasn't happy. I was a perfectionist and a control freak. And I was making myself miserable. But I'd also picked a career path that wasn't really me in retrospect. So since I was fortunate to have that financial stability, I decided to do what very few people do, which is give back tenure. And in hindsight, I would say I went on a search for authenticity. But I did stay on to teach, and I eventually went in, also added an administrative position. And I started to do leadership development as well as professional and personal development for the graduate students, since they had pretty much none of that on the campus at the time. And one day I had an aha moment that what I really loved to do was this kind of work. And people had been telling me for years, oh my gosh, Susanna, you should do this for a living. And I was just like, do what for a living? And I had this epiphany that oh, this is a transferable skill. This is something that people need. And so I just, and I also realized that I couldn't wait to get to work. And I would jump out of bed to go to work on the days I was doing this type of thing. And I thought, wow, everybody should feel that way about their work. So I was telling my girlfriend about, my perspective and all of the inner work that I had done over the past several years, especially post tenure. And she said, this is a field called positive psychology. So I was like, wow, what's that? So I decided to go back to school at the age of 50 and get a degree in the science of well-being, because guess what? Pharmaceutical sciences didn't really prepare me for this. And then I went out in search of my dream job so I could do this work full time. So I ended up taking a job at the University of Georgia, go Bulldogs. And I was their inaugural faculty director for faculty development, where I was focusing on faculty success that was outside of the research and teaching development, which is where universities mainly focus with faculty. And I was focused on their success and well-being because my belief was that if they were successful human beings, they would be successful at their work. And so it was truly a dream job. I had the best boss I'd ever had, and the campus was really open to this, even though it was really very new and innovative, even for UGA. And it was really a blissful dream job until 18 months into it. I was coming back from my sister's funeral when we learned of my second husband's stage 4 cancer. And I had a spiritual awakening in the moment. And I spent the next 7 months before he passed away, just learning what it meant to go from being an atheist to being a spiritual person. And I was determined to bring the heavens down to help him heal. So I pretty much did a deep dive. I feel like it was like a graduate education. I went from zero to graduate school in spiritual development. And around the time he passed away, I received divine inspiration to quit this dream job and move back to Richmond, Virginia, where I spent most of my career. I was 23 years in the university here in Richmond. And to put my life savings into starting a nonprofit called the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. And the mission is to help all of us create a healthy and rewarding relationship, first with ourselves and then each other, as well as Earth and the loving force that connects us. And this was actually a project that has been in the back of my mind for the prior 10 years, because when my kids were in middle school, we were living in a pretty nice part of town, as you can imagine, my dream Chinese American life. But
with your 2.2 kids.
That's right. My 2.2 kids and my McMansion, 2-car garage, etc. I was seeing how many kids there were engaging in risk-taking behaviors. And it wasn't just the kids, it was their parents. And I literally went around to the teachers and the principal and said, oh my God, why aren't we teaching folks about mental and emotional health and hygiene? We teach dental hygiene and phys ed, but what about how to have a healthy inner world? And pretty much people just stared at me and blinked at me. And at the time I didn't know what to do. I mean, I hadn't had my aha moment yet, but I realized that was something that I was being given the opportunity to address this question. And this was in 2018, so it was 2 years before the pandemic. And I don't know if you know this, but in 2020, the American Psychological Association said that we were in a mental health crisis due to stress. So this was data they collected before the pandemic. So as you know, it's only gotten much worse. And one of the worst statistics I've seen is that, it's terrible for adults and our youth, but for young adults ages 18 to 24 are 46%, have 46% incidence of either a mental illness or a substance misuse disorder. And it's lower if you're above that. And I'm not quite sure what it is if you're a young person, a youth. But for our youth, suicide is still the number 2 cause of death. So we have so much that is needed, not only in terms of mental health care, like in terms of therapy and psychiatric care, behavioral health, but I believe that we can really do much more to be preventative by teaching people these basic skills in caring for ourselves and each other in our mental, emotional, and social health and well-being. So that's really what the Foundation for Family and Community Healing does. We have a growing library of courses where we walk learners step by step through this behavioral change. And after 26 years in higher ed as a faculty member and also doing professional and personal development, I've seen on both ends of it that we teach to the knowledge, not the skills. So I am really pretty anal about our content, not only teaching what people need to know about this, like what it is and why it matters, but more importantly, how to change their behavior as well. Because when we change our behavior, we can change our lives. So our content is on the spectrum from like mental health adjacent through flourishing and points in between. So I'm really proud of what we're doing. And I provide content, but we also work with teachers and trainers in the community who have content on the spectrum so that we could really have a robust set of offerings on a variety of topics.
Wow, that's fascinating story. I think the thing that to me is the most incredible thing about it is where you came from and the environment that you grow up in with parents that were, that you were raised in a certain way. And you're almost the opposite at this point based on what you're doing. You're the furthest thing from an engineer I think you can be. Is that fair to say?
Well, and I didn't even tell you the rest of it because my other nonprofit is on spiritual development. So it's called Sanctuary of Earth. And
Okay.
so we're creating, I guess, a similar platform eventually, but also offering courses on spiritual skill development because I also believe that we have a unique interface and spiritual personality, interface with the divine and spiritual personality. And that, we might want to mix and match and, try things on and see what works. So, so that's the goal for this new nonprofit is that we give people options, places to learn and communities to join so that they can discover what works best for them. So yes, I think when you add that in, Ken, then I am pretty much about as opposite as you can get from anything my parents had really ever hoped I would be. But I know my dad was very proud of me before he passed away and proud of the work that I've been doing.
So how does that happen? I mean, you talked about how you changed your life, but to me, that's just this incredibly drastic change. I mean, how does that happen? How does that take place in your head and make that, how do you
Yeah.
make that turn?
Well, I pretty much had my life crash down for me and by me. So I told you that I had a spiritual awakening when it was literally within a couple of days of coming back from my sister's funeral. We learned of Chris's stage 4 cancer, and I literally had a spiritual awakening right in the moment. And I really dedicated myself, like all my free time when I wasn't working or caring for him, to learning some of the healing arts and connecting to my guidance. And I was really a woman obsessed. And he did have an amazing recovery, but he ended up passing away due to the side effects of the medication. And so my life, even though, he did pass away and we'd only been in Athens 18 months by the time he got sick. So I really couldn't see continuing my work there. So um, and things didn't really get easier from there because I ended up quitting and moving back to Richmond, and there were a number of family issues, some of them self-inflicted and some of them not. And really my life just pretty much spiraled downwards. And the only thing I could do was to hold on to dear life for my nonprofit work and for my developing sense of myself as a spiritual being and the support and inspiration and hope that provided and the strength. Because I really had to turn to that because I wasn't getting it from my family. And I didn't have too many friends who who understood that or were close by enough to support me. So it was really my lifeline. And even though it was what I call it a terrible gift, I'm really very grateful for this path because it really is beautiful. And really all of my work has been through through divine inspiration and my guidance with my soul and my higher self and my spirit guides and all of that. And it's led me to work that I feel is so much more beautiful and so much more potentially impactful than the pretty smart Sana that I used to be. So, I don't feel like I would have met Scott or joined Peace, Harmony, Joy if I hadn't been in my guidance, because, even back then I had a very narrow concept of what this nonprofit would be. And, right now it is just it has the potential to really change so many things for almost anybody who is interested in learning. So between the two organizations, it can really scale to the whole world, or anybody who's interested, and create behavioral change on the places that our schools and workplaces have not been addressing. So yeah, I'm really inspired, and I get to meet really amazing people like you and Scott and the others at PHJA, and the other people I meet with my nonprofit organizations and my own side hustle, working as a spiritual guidance and counselor. And yeah, I mean, I feel just so incredibly blessed and hopeful, even during these trying times.
It's an amazing journey you've been on, and as I've gotten to know you, I mean, again, it's so impressive how you've taken things that you've learned and you built on them, but you're really trying to be your best version of yourself, and trying to help everybody else be the same. I want to ask you some peace, harmony, and joy questions. So the first
Sure.
thing that I want to just touch on is, whenever I talk to you, you seem to be very calm. You seem to be, in a good place. And you touched on some statistics from 2018, and even recently. I mean, there's so much going on in our society. There's so many people that have an anxiety. Share with our audience a little bit what you do to find peace in your life.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I had to give up my addiction to drama and thinking I knew everything and thinking that I can control everything. And when I really truly operate from the place of I don't know anything, and people are like, "Oh, you're underselling yourself," and I'm like, "No, I don't. That's not what I'm saying. I know I'm smart and I know a lot, but the world is so complicated that one can never understand what all the ripples are of any given decision or action. So I prefer to just really be in a place of not knowing, and to know that everything is as it should be, even if it really seems like it sucks. So if something's really challenging, I know that there's a lot of growth that's available to me. And if things are wonderful, then I can enjoy it. So there's really nothing that's good or bad. Only thinking makes it so, right? I think I'm misquoting Shakespeare, but I really do live that way, to know that everything is divine. It's all happening for me. And if I lean into the growth that's on offer when things are really, really rotten, then I can move through it more easily and more efficiently, and come out with the gift on the other side. It's really the lessons of the hero's journey. I call it the hero's journey, described by Joseph Campbell, who teaches us that humanity's stories are all about teaching us that the journey is within. It's not the external challenges, it's the inward journey. And we have to go through the dark night of the soul, or the innermost cave is what he calls it. And when we become bigger, we learn and grow to become bigger than our challenge, then we can prevail. So that's my operating philosophy. And it's very Taoist, the yin yang. If you have an upside, there's always going to be a downside. And so on balance, everything's neutral. And so, I try to always move into non-judgment as often as possible, and to just be in trust that all is well. And I can never be alone. I can never be without. There's nothing to be afraid of. And when you really know that, then you can be at total peace.
That's excellent, and I think it's so powerful what you share, because first off, faith, and you said you were an atheist before, but I mean, you can tell you believe in a God, your God. There's something bigger going on, and it's amazing when you're connected to that. how you can let go and really let all the anxiety and all the stress just go away. I can hear it when you're speaking today, but I've seen it with you in many conversations, and also believing that everything it happens for the good is such a powerful thing, because not everything that happens to us feels good at the moment. But when you can have this mentality that it is all for the good, it's either a good experience, or if it's not a good experience, it's good for me because there's a lesson or something positive that's going to come out. Don't have to understand it at the moment, but you just go with it. And so again, it gives me a much deeper appreciation for how you really do always seem to be calm no matter what is happening. You're like, hey, it's good. And I like that you feel like you don't know everything. So many people feel like they know and they've got to tell you. But I'm with you. No matter how intelligent we are, we still know very little, just a small smidgen of all of what's going on in the world. And there's so much to learn, and it's so exciting. And if you can have that mentality, again, it just removes the stress, and you're just in the moment, and you're in it. So thanks for sharing some of your secrets about how you have peace. I want to talk a little bit about harmony. So again, in our book, we talk about being true to yourself, and how many people grow up. Their parents tell them not to do this. Their friends tell them that's not cool. The teachers tell them this is what all these things. And so people grow up so often living somebody else's life, something else that they think they're supposed to be. And I think as most people are, because when you're a child, you don't know. And but the question is, as you get older and you learn, will you change? And I think a lot of people are scared to change. They're either making too much money, or what are people going to think if I do this? I mean, people, there's lots of reasons why people don't live their true self, live their best lives. And yet you're an example of someone who has. Now, you did have a life-changing event. At the same time, you had to make a big change. So tell us a little bit how you maybe even discovered who your true self was, this whole spiritual journey that you wanted to be a real participant in. And then tell us a little bit how you made the change, because I mean, dramatic change from a nice income and tenure position to a nonprofit owner, and just a very different type of a lifestyle.
Well, I had been doing my inner work really since I was a teenager. And then more intensely when I started getting involved in this leadership development work as a learner. And so that was already putting me on a path of getting to know myself through a more neutral / positive lens, instead of like I was just like my constant critic. I was unrelenting. And I was probably harder on myself than other people, although they probably may not agree with me at the time. So I had been on that journey for a while, and then I guess the upside of having your life thrown under the train is that you get to put it back in an organic way. And I was so traumatized and grieving that I pretty much just surrendered to to spirit and to my guidance. And I just said, show me what I need to do so that I can be of greatest impact and service to, my soul's purpose. And so I was pretty much like a little kid at the time. Like there were very few decisions I would make on my own. And I just let my guidance show me the way out of it. And the way that I understand it is, it was just all about me becoming my most natural self. And it was really, if you think about it, it was just stripping away the ego, which is very painful. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you literally feel like you're dying when your ego cracks open and gets shed away. But there's just so much freedom that comes with it. And when you really allow yourself to be 100% authentic, there's no one easier to be than you. When you're not trying to jump through somebody else's hoops, even if they're your own hoops that were adopted from your family or culture or community, it's hard to be somebody else. And when you're just unapologetically you, and well, it's pretty messy, none of us are perfect, even under the best of circumstances. But the great news is that when, our ego at times feel like it's there to keep us safe, it is also there to keep us small. And when we eliminate that or we diminish that vastly, we realize how big and powerful and wise we can be. So I think that's the really beautiful thing behind being a person of faith and really allowing oneself to become truly authentic, that we really are expressions of the divine. And so there's absolutely no reason why we can't be as wise and as powerful and as full of love as our creator. So that brings us to the joy category. But, it's not only a relationship with yourself, because once you're finally at peace with yourself and in harmony with your natural self, then you can do that with other people as well and let them be who they are and just trust that they are on their path, and that any criticism or complaint I have of them is probably my own projection. Oh, I hate arrogant know-it-all people. Well, who was I? I was like one of the most arrogant know-it-all people before, right? So it's all projection. And then, it's not all projection, but just so much of it is. And when I own that for myself, then it's really hard to be critical of somebody else, and just love them and know that they're doing their best and that they are on their path too. We are all doing the same. We are all part of the same body of Earth, Mother Earth. We are all part of the body of creation. I mean, there's really no separation. But that is something we often have to return to consciously, sometimes multiple times a day.
It's part of being human, right? You're not a robot. You've got emotions, your mind, goes in different places. However, if you've got this foundation, it's amazing how you can utilize it. And I liked how you transition. It's not only about us, right? I mean, we're on this planet with amazing people, amazing resources. I mean, there's this whole planet Earth. And when you're feeling good about yourself, when you're calm, you're being your true self, you're in the moment, you're feeling peace, and enjoying yourself. It's amazing how it emanates and how you can really not only experience it with other people, you can actually influence them to have more peace, harmony, and joy in their own lives. And but it is recognizing everybody is special and unique, not just you, not just me, not just Ken, but everybody. And when you truly believe that and connect with that, it's amazing the great experiences you can have, the magic you can create. Again, the joyful moments that are out there to be had.
And one of my most prized gifts that I've always had, even before I became spiritual, was that I've always been able to see the potential and the best in other people. And it's truly just such a gift. I mean, sometimes I get burned, of course, but I'd much rather have it be that way than to just be cynical all the time. And so I can always see how, like, the beauty of a person and their soul and what their soul's intention is, or the contribution they're here to make in the world. And it's so beautiful. It's so needed. We don't need a duplicate of somebody. We need every person and their whole self right now at this point in history, in humanity's evolution.
Everybody is here for a purpose, and every single person would feel peace, harmony, joy in themselves. The whole planet would have peace, harmony, joy. I mean, like that. And that's, I think, your goal and our goal together is to get people to awaken to that. It's in each of us, and it's happening, and it's great to be part of the joyful journey with you.
Oh, likewise. And again, the beautiful gift of so much challenge that's happening in the world is, I feel like it's going to put so many of us into our dark night of the soul. And people used to come to me like at rock bottom, and I'd be like, yay, you're at rock bottom, congratulations, because it's such a precious moment to have that turning point where you go, what have I been doing that got me here? That's when you're willing to crack open. It's the most beautiful point in the journey, that inflection point. And so I just feel like a lot of us are going to be turning. So it's a really beautiful and precious time that we are in.
And I'll tell you that rock bottom is an interesting statement, because I think so many people think they have it all figured out, They think their lives are fine. Why do I need to read? Why do I need to work on myself on this stuff? Everything's fine. And but they're not really feeling peace, harmony, and joy. They're just feeling fine. And it's not until you hit rock bottom or in a crisis, I think a lot of times, that you actually I got to do something different. I got it, and I got to really commit to something different. And it's been interesting as I've tried to share what we do. I mean, there are some people who grasp it immediately, either they're already on this journey or there's something really significant, crisis going on in life. But there's so many people who I think are really like, that's nice. But I'm fine. And I just, how do you connect with those people? That's gonna be part of the joyful journey over time. But crisis is a great time to help people, to get people know there is a way. And I think that's what we're all about, helping people of all types, but especially when they're in crisis.
Well said. Well said. And we couldn't have a better leader at the helm, Scott. So thank you for your vision and your energy and great talent and skill behind bringing us together to help create this change in the world.
Thank you for those kind words. And it's all about doing it with people like you. So we're excited to have people hear about your story and all your wise words. Ken, anything you want to do to wrap us up here?
Well, I'm going to use the word authenticity because Sonia, you mentioned being authentic, and that sort of helped you kind of crack the ego code, which I think we all struggle with. And really, I think you got yourself to this interesting point, which is really unique because, like you said, then you're not measured on society or other people's expectations of you. All of a sudden, you're just yourself and you are who you want to be. And I think that to me was the golden nugget. And there was a lot of them out there that you were talking about, but that's really resonated with me. So really fascinating background, fascinating story. I probably could have listened for hours, but really look forward to seeing what you bring to the table and help to supplement peace, harmony, and joy. So,
well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. So with that, for the Peace, Harmony, and Joy podcast, please follow us, like us, give us a review. We love the 5-star kind. Most importantly, join us on our joyful journey to bring peace, harmony, and joy to the world.
Thank you so much.